What is going on, my YouTube family? It is your boy Zeri, and we are going to talk a little blessings tonight. I'm going to give you my top 3 blessings for each race. Now, you need to understand this is all how you use them, benefiting your squad. But what I did is I went in, I read over all the kits again, looked at things that could potentially impact the blessings more than others, kind of sum them all up. Now, if you're using a character that this doesn't benefit a lot, where, I'm trying to just look at kind of standardized teams, that could be an issue for you, right? But just so bear that in mind and go in and figure it out yourself. Don't take my word as gospel, right? This is all on how you use your characters. But to me, these are the 3 most impactful blessings we could have in the game. So before we get started and we get into that, it was brought to my attention that I completely forgot number, 24 on the countdown that I made a while ago. And yeah, 24 is Shadar. Shadar for me does some really good things, turn meter manipulation, but he's just really, really squishy, and he's got to kind of be put in the right comp. So that's why I put Shadar there. So Shadar was 24, so sorry about that, and thank you for pointing that out to me. So let's jump right into blessings. So here's our blessing page, right? Now, what we're going to do is, I got them written down, so I didn't forget them. We're going to start with humans, right? Now, if I were to do humans, the 3 I would focus on here would be potency, right? We got a lot of dispellers or things in that, like Naya flipping the taunt. We have Freezard with his slow, Snorri with bleeds, Little Baddie with blinds, things like that. Potency could be very, very crucial in the humans. Now, the next one is damage. A lot of things are based off of damage. Soleus is heal based off magical damage, right? Obviously Freezard, Eric Shieldbreaker, Garrett, potency obviously too. But you have a lot of heavy damage dealers in there, and damage would be one place to focus. Really nice. The next one here would be crit damage. You're building a lot of characters in the human faction for crit chance. Again, Eric Shieldbreaker, Naya, Freezard, things like that, right? A sneaky one here could be health, because they are a little bit squishy. The Amos Blessing heals off their max health, things like that. So health could kind of be a sneaky one. Tenacity also, but I really like the potency, crit damage, and damage for the humans. So next one down, we have the Orcs. And for Orcs, I was kind of torn with Orcs. Definitely potency is huge for Orcs, right? You have the Zera lead. We have a ton of debuffs being spread around with Saboteur. You have the Stun on Stungar. The Stun on Traumgar, right? You have Hard Orc. So potency is a very big one for this faction. So definitely focus on the potency. Again, you could go damage and crit damage. That wouldn't be bad at all. But in this one, you have some squishier characters in the Orc faction, right? You have, Rantha. You got Diesel Rog if you're going to use him. You got characters like that. It's kind of harder to stay alive. So health and shield could also be huge for them. But again, I'd have to say potency, damage, crit damage is probably the way I would go to build my Orcs, encompassing the whole race, right? That's just the way I would do it. Tenacity, again, would be big because you want them to resist. But you could say that for everybody. Next one up here is the Elves. Now, when it comes to Elves, you have, again, potency. I gotta keep leaning towards potency for my top choice for most of these, but Elves for sure. I mean, you have the Mark of Death, you have bleeds, you have everything that Thelaine puts out there, right? Now, a real interesting one for Elves is health. Why am I saying health? You got some squishier characters in there, but if you're running a comp that involves regeneration heals off of your health. So the more health you have, the more you're healing off that regeneration. So health is definitely a big one for me. And, And then you're so dependent on debuff sticking for the elves. I really like tenacity for them. So I go potency, health, and tenacity as my top 3 for elves, because if you get ability blocked with Thelaine, oh man, it sucks, right? So that is one way I could go there. Up next, we have the goblins. And goblins I've already talked about. To me, the number one goblin is damage, right? Damage first and foremost, because they lose damage on the assists. So the more damage they have, that percentage of the assist is greater. So they're going to be doing more damage on every assist. That is great. Next one up is crit damage. You're building a lot of goblins for crit chance. And you could say the same thing for elves, because if you're using a Thelaine lead, it's based off of crit. So crit damage is always good, but there's a lot of those buffs out there for the elves. I forgot to mention that. You know, a lot of crit damage buff out there for the elves. So, but goblins, crit damage is huge for them, right? Because you're building a lot of them to crit so you can get that assist called in. And then the third one here is potency, because you need the shock to stick on Dr. Frank, things like that. You know, they are very, very squishy, so if you decided to go health or shield in the goblins, that would be perfect as well. But for me, the big one is damage, crit damage, and then potency, because that allows you to rune completely different with a higher potency. Now, pandas. Pandas was an interesting one because they're all kind of different, right? But for pandas, I have health is my number one. If you're running a Kinley lead, you get health back, constantly getting health back. So that is a huge one for me. So health is my number one there. The next one is there isn't a lot of like overwhelmingly debuffs in there besides like really burn, right? So potency isn't as big for me there. Now it does, if you're running a burn team with Lake and Ember, obviously you want to lean towards potency, but it's not in there for me. Damage is number 2 for me, because you want them to crank out as much damage as possible, right? Patriarchy is 500%, I don't know if that's the number, but off his magic damage, things like that. And then I would go shield. You're getting a lot of shield replenishment from the pandas. So for me, it's health, damage, and then shield. That's the way I'd line that one up. Now for pride. Pride is a tricky one because you got heavy damage dealers in the pride, but you also got extremely squishy characters in the pride. But when it comes to pride, what I would do for pride, and the way I might lean for the pride, if I can find it on my list here, is potency. Potency number 1. You have the bleeds, you have the dazes, you got Nessa now, right? So the more, and she has an extremely low potency, so potency for them is going to be really big, and then damage, crit damage, right? If you were going to go pride, you could almost go like one across the whole board, because tenacity would benefit Salvador, shield, health, all that stuff would be just great for them. So you could have just kind of like moved down the line if you wanted to, in my opinion. But for me, if you want to focus on the pride, I would go with potency, because you got a lot of debuffs out there that you want to stick. Then I'd go damage to help out Kagi, Boris, Reval, right? You could go crit damage, because most likely you're going to put a crit chance on somebody in there. But health and shield for survivability on those squishier characters wouldn't be as bad, but potency, damage, crit damage. Now for dwarves. Dwarves is pretty much what I've been saying, but for me, it's damage is the number 1 thing I would focus on if I was going to go dwarves in the blessings. The overall damage output from the dwarves would be phenomenal here if you put on an extra 10% damage per character. Also, moving on from damage, I would then transition into potency, right? Because you have the bleeds, you got dazes, you got ability blocks, you got a whole bunch of stuff there. Now for the third one, it's kind of a tie for me. You could go crit damage, somebody like Tubald, that would be great, Zappy, Boardwin, right? All that stuff would be fantastic, but I actually prefer tenacity, right? They have no dispeller. If you're running all dwarves, Boardwin does. He can dispel on them, but you don't have like a cleanser on your team. That's the word I was looking for. So tenacity to resist. So damage, potency, tenacity for the dwarves. Now, half pigs. When it comes to half pigs, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record here, but I would go potency first on half pigs, because you got the burns, you got a whole, you got the dazes from Bar and Rel, you have the stun from Centurion, so potency to them is big. I would also go with damage second, and then I would go tenacity, or you could even go shield. Shield for the half pigs is kind of on the lower end. They're kind of middle of the pack, I should say. So shield would be good. So there, but if you want to focus on your half pigs, potency first, damage for this is the way I would do it: potency, damage, and then tenacity. Have them resist those debuffs and or health or shield to increase their survivability overall. But tenacity, high tenacity at 30% to Centurion would be just a nightmare. Then when it comes to the demons, demons are very dependent if you're running like a Shadar lead team, potency, right? But for me, survivability of most demons, besides like a Mega Wheel, which at Gear 13 is great, but he's still kind of squishier at Gear 11. So you also got to keep that in mind. But for the demons, what I'm looking at for demons is I am looking at tenacity, health, and shield on them. They give themselves surprisingly a lot of turn meter, so they're going a little bit faster. If you took out that survivability, or you went potency instead of tenacity, but if you took out that survivability aspect of them with maybe potency, you could ruin them for damage, you could ruin them for speed, you could ruin them for crit chance. It could do a lot. So probably, now that I'm talking it out, I would probably go health, shield, and potency on those. And there's really no right way to do this. It's all on how you use your team. Because like you said, like if you heard me talk, if you're using a lake-led panda team, you probably want to focus on damage and crit damage, right? But if you're using a Kinley-led panda team, you want to focus on health. So it's all on how you're doing it. This is just my top 3 based off of the kits. And, you know, a lot of people have asked me, where should I start? What do I do? Look, I know a lot of people probably don't know which way to go, which I understand completely, because I'm the same way. I have enough to buy one skill so far, a couple skills actually, and I just haven't done it yet, because I don't know what I want. But the way I'm looking at it is, if you only use one demon, if you're only using buff in your arena team, but you're using 3 humans, you want to go humans. If you're using 4 half pigs in Zera, you'd probably want to go with half pigs first. So take a look at your arena team. You get the premium currency from there. You're looking at arena teams, but if you're a big raid player and you're pushing to get up to T9 per se, then potency is going to become huge. If you're struggling to get through Gear 12 challenges and that's your primary focus, you want to go potency all the way down. That is the number one thing you need in those Gear 12 challenges is potency. If you can get that ability block to stick, you're going to last a lot longer, right? So keep that in mind as well. So I just wanted to quickly go over like my top 3, what I'm thinking about when it comes to these blessings, and hopefully it helped you out there. I mean, if you are thinking a different way, leave that comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. This video is going to take the place of the worst to first on Thursday. And then worst to first will continue on Friday. But I've just been getting a lot of questions about this, so I wanted to make sure I got it out. I was talking everybody through it, so, you know, that's where it is. And, you know, the best advice I can give you is just have fun with it. It sucks you can't reset it, but eventually you're going to want to max all these out. That is the end goal for everybody, right? So, if you're a Pride lover and they're your favorite race, do all Pride. You do you. Be happy with it. So, that's what I got for everybody tonight. So I just wanted to let you know that. And hopefully this helps out and you can see what I'm thinking and where I'm focusing. So with that being said, I love y'all. See you in the next one. I'm out.